Hey, good evening, everyone. It's going on 6:30 here. About a couple minutes till. I like to log on, get everything ready, give everybody a chance to log on. This here is could be a lengthy topic, so I just want to start out by putting on this spiritual awakenings topic that you know that spiritual awakenings have been around for centuries and can be observed by a variety of religions and cultures. So this is nothing against anybody's beliefs or anybody's church or anything like that. This is not about that. This is about one's inner self. And you could say, to venture to say that spiritual awakenings were, this could even be applied to Jesus during his time when he was preaching the gospel, or even John, or anybody that has this calling, and you can call it whatever you want to call it, but it's a gift. It's a draw to the side that we start to awaken from maybe, I want to say, from our youth, or from our beliefs, or the way we were kind of guided and when we were raised. So it could be a very interesting subject, and I try to be very connected to it. So, hey Vicky, how you doing this evening? So I kind of wanted to touch base on it, and hey Gina, and this goes back. I mean, we all go through things in our life where, from where we was an adolescent, and we're brought up in school. We get, we deal with the things that's happening around us, and there comes a point in time in our life when we start to gravitate towards other things. Say, we start experiencing different things. We try different things, and sometimes those things don't work out, and it throws us in a shell. So we're going to talk a little bit about spiritual awakenings and just what it is, because some of y'all experience it. That's good, Vicky. And sometimes we turn it off because it's just like, it's one of those questions, one of those things that you hear me say sometimes. We turn the volume down here and we turn the volume over here, just like my soundboard. You can control things in your life. So sometimes we turn things down, and sometimes we kind of turn things up. And so, anyway, some of the signs of spiritual awakenings could be, you feel disconnected or detached. Hey Sharon. And sometimes those feelings can be quite overwhelming, so and confusing, and it can feel like everything that you thought to be true about your life was a lie or something like that, and you may feel, like I said, just totally disconnected and detached from the things and people that you used to enjoy. So that's one of the signs when you start to get like that, and you start reevaluating, things that you thought, or maybe friends that you've had, and or even in relationships or marriages, and you start to drift apart because you're going one way, and they're not on the same level as you are. So you go in a different direction, and we're going to have these breakups yet until I can get some of this filled up. And any of you guys that might join us that are not on our friends list, I apologize, but you won't be able to comment and unless you are on my friends list. So make sure that you do get on there because you won't be able to comment. And so we go through those stages, and even in Christianity, or just I guess probably in any religion that we have or whatever, we start going through these, we start questioning things, and I think that's a normal thing. But there's the inside of us, and how do we, so we're talking about how we're trying to recognize these things, and another thing too is like your dreams start becoming more vivid. The meanings of your dreams and how they connect to your journey, and they become sort of like, they start becoming more apparent and more vivid, like I said. So, these are some of the signs of awakenings, and a lot of people get confused with the when you say things like awakening, because there's a lot of religions out there, and I'll give you an example. How do you think the Jews felt when Jesus was practicing or preaching the things that he was? Well, the Jews didn't take it very well, did they? And they kind of rebelled against that. And even in modern times, if you notice, a few years ago, I'll say a few years ago, probably, I don't know, I'm guessing maybe 12 or 15 years ago, there was a movie that came out that the Catholic Church just totally went in an uproar about, and it was called Avatar. And I'm not sure how many of y'all watched that movie Avatar, but the Catholic Church and a lot of religions kind of just went off of that, because it didn't get into the principles and the concepts of some things that they wanted to be put out there. They thought it would jeopardized that. But that, that's here and there. A spiritual awakening, I think everybody does at one time or another in their life. Now, whether they got the volume turned up or turned down, some of us grow older and we don't ever like really turn the volume up on it, or we don't understand it and we don't recognize it, so we leave the volume down and we don't tune it in. So, but also when you're having these sort of like awakenings, if you want to, like I'm calling them, you experience like more synchronicities, or deja vu in your life. It's sort of like, you might start experiencing mind-blowing like frequencies, like it could be about something or somebody randomly just running into them the next day, and then or maybe numbers or something all the time just keep popping up, and just signs, okay, just some signs of what. And during this time, your relationships begin to shift. Like I said, you're going one way, and you start feeling certain ways, and you start seeing things differently. And then, if you're with a spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend, or around family or friends or whatever, they can see you kind of like going off in this different direction, and they don't understand it. And that's because you're having. You're trying to put more value in your life, and that can be quite dramatic in your life, and so it feels like when you're going through this, spirituality becomes like more important part of your life than it did maybe like when you was younger, So, and the desire for meaning and fulfillment and within your spirituality, and it will likely become, like one of your biggest priorities. And that's kind of where I'm kind of drifting off with this and what I'm trying to get. And also in this part, you become more intuitive. You become more in tune with yourself. I just want to kind of run off some of these things and try to so you understand something about like what a spiritual awakening would be like. You start, you just start feeling different. You start thinking of things. You start thinking about life more, and it's quite. It can be quite traumatic, for a lot of people. And then some people just like I said, they kind of tune it out. But when you're going through this, you can also sense like you can start telling when people are manipulative, okay, and when they're doing bad things or trying to. You could see through the fog. You could see through the haze when you're going through this, and you sort of like. You can see people for who they are sometimes when you are having these awakenings in your life, and you realize everyone is on their own path too. So as you're awakening, you could see other people for who they are, and you could see that they're not on the same level as you, but that's okay, and you understand that, and so. But and trying to deal with that sometimes can be because not everybody's going to understand you because they're not on that path yet, or they're not on the level that you're on. And when you do this and you start having these awakenings, you start to want to be a service, not only to those around you, but you want to be a service to your community, to your neighbors. You start wanting to put value to things. You know what I'm saying? So, and during this process also, a lot of times you don't have to go out and seek it. Once you turn the volume up and you start getting in tune with the things that are around you and everything, your teachers will find you. And they come in, circumstances and situations all around us. I mean, those teachers will find you, and I've come to know that to be as true as well. You don't have to go seeking for them. They will find you, and they will find you in the spur of the moment when you least expect it sometimes. It's not like you go out and trying to seek it, You could be down in town, you could be at home, you could be watching TV, you could be just about anywhere. And this teacher, somebody's going to get ready to teach you something that you need to learn. And it's going to be a good thing because you'll get understanding from it. It's sort of like, when we went to school, all we thought about is, okay, this is not the case of like when we were in school and the teacher's up there and they're writing stuff up on the chalkboard and they give you a book to open it up and say turn to page whatever, and you got to read that chapter and then you got to do an essay on it or you're going to have a quiz on it, you're going to have a test on it, and so you cram your mind full of this stuff and you're just trying to get through it, so you can get a passing grade. This is not the kind of teacher I'm talking about. The teacher, because you're not going to remember most of that junk anyway when they cram it down you like that, So you're just trying to pass it to get a grade. This is not about getting a grade. This teacher, when they find you, and it's not like they're seeking you, okay? But they will find you, and if that makes any sense to you, it's sort of like. If you got a neighbor that does something and you see him do something that was just like, but when you're having this awakening, you can see things, that happens. You get a lesson from it, and you're actually you actually learn from it, and it makes you a better person when you're like that. So. And like I said, you want to be a service to your community. When you start waking up and you start realizing the value of life and who you are and what you're doing, you start wanting to do things for others. And you think less of yourself because yourself is only just a little piece of it. It's not about material things no more. The material things come and go. So this is a big thing. And let me tell you, spiritual awakenings can come don't think it just comes in later ages. It can come in young people too. It can come any point in time in your life when you start having these, you start waking up and you start realizing life is short, and you know, you start trying to find this meaning to life. Okay, so, and this can help you if you go to church. This can help you in church, because when you go into church now, maybe when you're having these awakenings, you can feel the Holy Spirit more, even so. You know what I'm saying? So, and this happens to everybody, but it's comes down to you controlling the knobs, the volume buttons. If you want to go ahead and listen to a bunch of people gossiping and talking about a bunch of stuff and bickering with your neighbors and everything else, what value of life do you get there, right? So there comes a point in time you don't want that no more, and that's when you start awakening, and you start getting in tune with the bigger picture of what life is and why you're here. And so, and that's one of the things I wanted to point on, touch base on. And also, but when you're going through this, because you're on a different level than most of the people, everybody's on their different levels, right? So when you're going through this, you can feel very alone, and it's a very lonely place sometimes, because all this stuff is happening. You're trying to stay focused, and you're trying to learn, and you're trying to experience, and you're trying to get value, and not everybody else is. So that puts you in a lonely place, and you feel like sometimes, what's wrong with this world, right? So this is a bad place for you to sometimes just, because you want to just turn the volume down. You don't want to be in this lonely place. Nobody wants to be in a lonely place. But because everything else is happening around you, and people around you are starting to look at you differently. You're looking at them differently. You're looking at everything you do differently. You're trying to find meaning in life. So yeah, this can be a very, it can be a very lonely place when you're going through this. But I'll tell you what, as long as you keep the volume turned on, the great thing about that, and this is the secret that I had to learn, is that while you're in this lonely place, and now you know that you're reaching this spiritual place, and once you feel it, like I was saying the other night about depression, it's sort of when you're in this place and you have already experienced like the Holy Spirit, there's a place that you can go to that you find comfort in, and it's a place that you can go to, and it beats any other feeling that you can get from any human being. Okay, so that's your refuge, and that's what keeps you happy. So always remember, when you're going through that lonely place, always remember that if you got to tune the station to get the Holy Spirit back, you'll be okay. You'll always be okay, and it's true, and it'll always be there. You never question it, because that's just something. Once you get dialed in, you're fine. And when you're going through this, you'll be connected to the natural world more. You start having compassion for people, and you start seeing the plight of people, and you can see where they're at, and you can. And I don't want to say you start having pity for them, but you start having compassion for them, and you start like hoping, and you start praying that those people, you start praying for other people, and you start praying that they find a good place, because you're not in an evil spirit here. You're in a good spirit. So when you get into that good spirit, you care about everybody, even the people that do you wrong. You start understanding that the people that are doing you wrong are just in a very bad place, and you start wanting them to not be there no more. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it feels like when you're going through a spiritual awakening, and all your senses are heightened. Like I said, you can see bad for bad, and you can see good for good. You can see through the gossip. You just get this vibe, and you're on a mission. And when you're like that, I mean, just like what I'm trying to say is like nothing can deter you. Not if you stay focused and you keep your volume where it's at. Yeah, there's going to be static sometimes, you know. I ain't saying that. But you become so much aware of your surroundings and the people around you, and you start feeling pain more too, empathy, as they say, from other things, and sometimes this can cause you, you know, physical symptoms. So yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy sometimes, but like I said, as long as you've got that tune where you can go back. But this also causes sudden change, sort of like in your habits and your routine, because now you're going through these changes. You don't want to do maybe the same things or that you've been doing, or you don't want to have the same friends, or maybe you're hanging out with people that bring you down and tries to turn your volume down. And so all of a sudden now you don't, you know, you sort of like not want to be around them no more, you know. So, and it, like I said, and this goes with your habits too. And when you start feeling all these things, and you start going, and a lot of times, and the reason I'm having this subject topic tonight is because a lot of people don't really understand what they're going through, and they get confused, because it can cause confusion if you're not knowledgeable to understand what's happening around you. And but your whole outlook towards the world, it just becomes different, you know. You don't worry about the things that you used to worry about. They're petty, right? I mean, can you imagine the things that, like, say, for instance, when we were in high school or young adults, and the things that we would really get upset about, you know, just, you know, you can name 1,000 countless things, you know, that we would just like be triggered by, and how these things would upset us, or how we couldn't stop talking about them. And some of us, even though we've aged all these years, have never evolved from our adolescence. You know, we still do like we were doing in high school. We never learned. We, you know, we've got the volume down, turned so far down, and we got the other one turned up, and that's, I mean, we go to bed at night thinking about it, and we get up in the morning thinking about it, and that's full blast all day, just that adolescence, you know. And so, but when you start getting a spiritual awakening, our whole outlook on the world just sort of like, it just feels different, and we start looking at things different, and all those petty things are just, you know, they just don't mean nothing no more, and we kind of look at them as silly. And so, and like I said, you're displaying more compassion. You have a newfound curiosity to what you're going through. And so I wanted to give that broad outline as we started today. And I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, if you're listening and watching in. If you'd like to comment, please do so, and we'll kind of go into it. And I can go back sort of bit to the beginning. And I wanted to and I didn't want people to get confused when I say spiritual awakening. This could apply to anybody in any religion, anywhere. This ain't trying to change nobody's beliefs about nothing, and I want to make that clear. This just makes you more in tune with who you are, with the Holy Spirit that you have connection with, and I feel, you know, and having that empathy, you know, and having that care for all people. And I see people out there going through this part of never growing up, if you will, and still wanting to chase the same things, and just like, you know, how do you help those people, and how do you get to them? And like I said, the teacher will find you. You don't have to go sometimes. You don't have to really go out and seek it. When you start going through this spiritual awakening, you'll have so many teachers, and they won't know they're teachers, you know what I'm saying? But they're going to be teaching you lessons, and you're going to learn from them just everywhere you turn, everywhere you go. You're going to start seeing incident. And when you start seeking that, then and you're in that part of your life where you're going through that, everything really starts to have meaning, you know, because we've heard expressions, and we've probably done them ourselves, you know, start questioning life. we question God, we question this, because we get confused, we get lost, and we just like, unfortunately, some people don't. They've got this other volume turned up, and they lose it. So that's the reason I said when you do get into that part of loneliness, always remember when you're in that part of loneliness and this whole spiritual awakening part, when you start questioning meaning of life and stuff like that, that you go back to the Holy Spirit. Because this is how I feel, and I've explained this before, is that you can have direct communication. Okay, I'm a firm believer in that. You don't need nothing or nobody. You can have direct, if you put yourself in the right frame, in the right heart, in the right soul, and the right peace, you can communicate. And once you've done that and you know it's there, then you can always go back. And that's the beautiful thing about it. And a lot of people don't really get to that part where they find that, and they don't know how to like go back and find that peace when they're going through all these questions in their life and all these trials and tribulations and this madness. Sometimes it's all around us. So always remember you're part of the bigger picture. And I see we got some people on. If you would like to ask any questions or make any comments, or even would like to come on the video to speak, I would, that's great. If you have anything to add, I'd be more than happy to entertain your questions or comments at this time before I try to go on a little bit further. I see, hi Carolyn, hi Vicky, hi Kim. And so, and it can be I try to help people, and that's where I try to be at. So, and sometimes people don't think they can get over their past, but this happens in relationships a lot too, where you might have people you might have this one person that just stays, they go to bed, like I said earlier, they go to bed with the same thoughts and the same goals, and they're consistent. They get up in the morning, they think the same way. It's like they never change, and they never try to question. They turn their volume all the way down, and then all they're thinking about is their job, their money, their car, their motorcycle, whatever. The neighbors aggravating them, somebody down the road, gossiping about them. They're totally zoned in to everything physical like that, and they don't really want to see outside of that. And I'm not saying that they don't want to, it's just that they don't know how to, I can't. And we all go through that where, like I said, where we was younger as teenagers or whatever. And then there comes a point in time, and I really feel like, God has a big part in this, because, and a lot of people are going to cringe when I start to bring religion or something into it, or the Holy Ghost. And I don't want to get into different aspects of people's beliefs. But at the same time, it is everything, and you gotta realize, and I'm not talking about. Let's not get into the petty things of sin and all this, because we all physical. We all have our physical, our physical desires and stuff like that. And some of us are a lot more advanced than others. We can't. Let's not go to the playing that game where somebody's like better. They think they're better than somebody or some. I just hate when we get in there, because that's negativity. And when you start looking at things like that, then you're just right down to the adolescence again, right? So you're right back in high school. And we're not designed to be that way. We're designed to grow, we're designed to learn, we're designed to feel, we're designed to love. And I made a little comment earlier, it's like I'm like I'm just searching for a heart of gold, as Neil Young sung, but I'm getting old. So, so when I get into this point of I'm trying to get people to start like caring about each other, and why, you see something wrong or something aggravates you, why do you have to act, the spiritual awakening, you're nowhere near it if you're still acting childish like that. So we got to get beyond that to where we're helping each other and trying to help each other be better, and understand that if somebody's trying to do good, or if they're on their path, like we have a lot of people in Harlan County that do a miraculous wonderful things, and they don't get, people will sometimes say good, they'll say good things about certain people. Oh yeah, they do a wonderful job, they do that. And then there's always going to be the others that are just like, oh no, I wouldn't trust them, or I wouldn't do that, or, and, so we gotta, like, how do you get by that with those people? And you gotta, and without getting down in the mud with them, you know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to help people keep their life, if they're looking for that part where they're trying to look for meaning and trying to understand it, and understanding what they're going through. And everybody is just watching and nobody's making one comment. They're like fixed on so it's okay if you have a comment or if you have a question. It would be great. Like I said, but when you're going through this and you want to be a service to everyone, not, everyone around you, as I was saying, you want to, your habits are changing. And when you're in a marriage, sometimes, your husband or your wife can be like, geez, it might start causing a lot of inner problems, because this person wants to be of service and this other person's like, why are you giving that away? That's mine, or that's our, they don't understand why you're being so kind, or why you care about them, or, and that can cause a big drift in people emotionally, because when you got two people that don't care and questioning why you're doing something, and then the other person's caring and giving all the time and wanting to do more, and that could cause, some big drifts in relationships. So, that can be very difficult, and I guess that's what you call growing apart sometimes, and two people, that's very real. People can grow apart. It's not that they're growing apart as much as it is, I think one person's growing and the other one's not. That makes sense too, you could say it in a lot of different ways. So I kind of wanted to touch base, because some people question, maybe they're they can't figure out why they're having these troubles and why they're going through this and why, and so I kind of, I wanted to touch base with that, so, because everybody, sometimes they go to, who am I? Why am I here? And there could be a certain element of wonder, and excitement when we find ourselves, just feeling very much alive, if that makes sense. And that's the way I feel. I feel like very much alive, because I know there's so much that can be done, and so much that needs to be expressed, and so much caring and so much love that can be given, and yet the majority of us are holding back. And and then trying to understand that sometimes can be, that's part of the spiritual awakening. And it's the same way. It would sort of like be the same way if you're in church and you're in like, when a church has a revival. It's a spiritual awakening, right? So, and a real revival that breaks out like that, is seeking the goodness and everything, but it doesn't stop inside the church. It should spread throughout the community, throughout your neighbors. You're trying to do good. So, Try to understand those things that go around you, and don't be depressed by them, and don't be discouraged by them. That's a blessing. That's a blessing when you're going through this. So, and anybody like to make any comments? I just see them just sitting there watching, and they're trying to, but that's okay. I'm open for questions, and I'm open for comments. If you would like to chirp in, it's okay. But I want to go back, and it was just sort of like saying, while I'm just kind of looking at that, it's sort of like, it's a great feeling to want to do service to others. It really is. It's a truly blessing. And not to try to hurt others. And when we get, and I get confused, and sometimes I get, you know, and it's very easy when you're trying to do good and others are backbiting you and clipping at your heels, and it's easy for you to turn around. I mean, it's sort of like you're walking and a dog's sitting there biting at your heels, and you're just going down, you know, down the road just happy as can be walking, but this dog keeps biting at your heels, and you're just like, get away, dog. You know, what's wrong with you? That's an easy reaction, and we do that with people. It's just sort of like, why are you trying to do this? And why are you trying to bite me? You know, I want you to be happy. Just go find you a toy or a hole to dig or something. Why you got to be biting on me? So, and that's the way life can be sometimes. So, you know, and what causes these spiritual awakenings sometimes, sometimes it takes sometimes they're triggered, okay? Sometimes they're triggered by, some kind of major life changes or trauma, such as a life-threatening illness sometimes can cause it, car accidents, divorces, war, you know. Anything that's tragic like that, just like our last pandemic, sometimes that triggered people to come to a spiritual awakening. Sometimes it's just midlife crisis when we get to that point where we get up older in life and we start, like, you know, not wanting to be old, and why we got to be old or getting older, you know, and we start questioning that could trigger it. Sometimes it is mental health crisis, and sometimes it's clinical depression or anxiety or even a near-death experience. Any of these things can trigger a spiritual, you know, awakening where we start to question things, because all of a sudden we're forced to turn the volume down on something and turn the volume up over here so we can hear. You know what I'm saying? It's just like having, like I said, it's like having my soundboard. Sometimes I have to, like, okay, I don't want to hear that, you know, and I turn it down. I want to hear this, and I turn it up. And when you start turning it up, then you can hear more of it, you know, and you can start seeing it, and you can start feeling it more. And so those are some of the things that I kind of wanted to touch base on. And as a person, as myself, when I first started experiencing that, I mean, yeah, you could look out in the world, and when you get into depression and you start questioning everything, and because, you know, it just sort of like, you see the world in a bad place, you know, and yeah, there is, but the way the world is designed, it's designed for us to go through that so that we can understand the good, okay? Sometimes it's hard to understand good. It's sort of like if you had somebody that's volunteering year after year, and that's all you remember as a kid, that this person was over here coaching baseball or basketball or doing something in the community for everybody else and not getting paid for it, volunteering their time. Somewhere along the line, it's just sort of like, and this is the way some people think, they come to expect it, so they don't understand that person's been doing good, so they don't understand good no more. So, and you know, so sometimes we got to experience the bad to appreciate the good. It's sort of like what I'm saying. So once you understand that certain people do certain things, they're out there in the community, and you see them giving of their time, and some people are out there having roadblocks and collecting money for the kids and children, and they don't even have no kids or children in the school or on a sports team or doing something, and you see those adults out there giving of their time, and they're sacrificing. Sometimes they're standing, and sometimes it's drizzling rain, sometimes the sun is hot, you know, but they're still out there trying to help. You should, come on, guys, wake up, you know. Why aren't you out there volunteering as well? And why you got your volume turned up? Well, it doesn't mean nothing to me, or I don't have no kid there. No, come on, really? This is the way I look at it. It's like, if you got the time and you ain't doing nothing else anyway, then, and even if you did, you should make the time. You should, you know, it's frustrating. It is very frustrating to try to see the way people act sometimes, and I wish more people would have more of a spiritual awakening, if you will. And so, you know, I know when I go through things, and even when I'm out there driving a semi on the road, and if I see people in distress, they don't have to ask me. I ain't talking about the people that's out there in the cities or wherever, and they're out there, the same people, day after day after day after day after day, holding up a sign that says we'll work for food or something like that. I feel for them, but not to the point, because if I give to them, all I'm encouraging them to do is to be out there tomorrow. Okay? So I don't look at that as helping them. But if I see somebody that got caught in a circumstance, in a situation, whether they should have foreseen it or not, but maybe they miscalculated and they got there, and it happens to all of us, and we get into a place that we didn't expect to be, what they call between a rock and a hard place, and we really didn't, we just kind of got wedged in there somehow, and we don't really know how, but we did, and we kind of look back and say, oh yeah, I shouldn't have done that, or I should have done this. I don't mind help. Those are the people we should be helping. You got to give a hand up to those that are, and maybe there's people, there's neighbors, and we see this all the time, where people get caught up in their life, and they get caught up in a situation, and I'm going to be very careful with my words here, because then I'm going to get ready to piss off about 90% of the people, maybe some. I mean, I don't know the percentages, but I'm going to try to be careful with my words, because that's not what my intention is. My intention is to say that if you're living your life day by day, you get up in the morning and you start out by watching TV, and you go to bed at night, and you ain't done nothing, and you go to bed and the last thing you do before you go to bed is turn off the TV, and everything that you've done in between there was pretty much just watching TV, and that's the way your day is going to be tomorrow, and the day after, next week, next month, next year. You see a pattern here? What's going on? What are you doing? You're wasting the most precious and valuable thing that you have been given in this world, and that is your time. And this is how you're spending it. You have to spend your time wisely, and you should be out there giving and caring and loving and sharing. That's a spiritual awakening, and when you start going through that, then you'll start understanding life, and you won't have to ask the questions that maybe you have been asking. So, I could probably go on this for quite a while, and I just wanted to put this out there to you guys so that you will be inspired if you're, yeah, exactly, what you're eating and watching TV. And I don't care how old you are, I don't care how young you are, I don't care how handicapped you are. Hey guys, hey, stop it. There's no excuse. Absolutely no excuse. If I know, let's put it this way, if I know that I have 3 days to live, just 3 days, I'm thinking about everybody else. I'm not thinking about me. I'm thinking about how I can make somebody else's life better before I can go. And, and that is what all of us should be striving to do. We got a lifetime. We got time. And how are we spending our time? You know, a lot of people spend their money wisely, but they spend their time terribly. So, you know, and a lot of people put so much emphasis on money and stuff like that, or put so much emphasis on, well, you know, hey, I get a check or I get food stamps. I'm good right here. Your life is pretty much, I mean, you might as well have you got a terminal disease. I'll just say it the way it is. Go ahead and make some people, I'm not trying to make you angry, but you got a terminal disease. And I blame that on the government quite a bit. To be actually, hey guys, stop it. Stop. There goes my dogs. Lay down. Lay down. And it's not that I'm trying to be mean to anyone. And I'm just trying to make sure that you understand. And you can spend your time however you want to. If all you can think about is waking up in the morning and just having your coffee and your breakfast and watching TV, and that's all you do all day, and that's how you want to live your life, that's your choice. I'm not going to knock that. That's your choice. But what I'm trying to say is that you're missing on so many blessings. You know, you are missing on so many blessings and the purpose of why you're put here on earth in the first place. That's not the reason. You're not just here to survive. You're here to thrive. You're here to bring happiness. Missy, go lay down now. There goes my dogs wanting to play tonight. So, and I can put myself in that position. Go lay down. And so yeah, I'm going to put myself up because no, it's really no life. And so that's what I'm saying. So Kathy, it's sort of like, if that's all you do today and that's all you have tomorrow and the next day, I mean, somehow or another, you're going to wake up one day and you're going to have gray hair and you're going to have wrinkles and you ain't going to be able to walk. And then what? I mean, can you really point a finger to the purpose of life? Yeah, some people go on to do majestical things, like, you know, they become president of the United States, or they become some kind of astronaut or scientist or some, you know, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the value of life, of helping and serving others around you. But when you just do that right there one day after the day, you're not living, you're just surviving. And there's a difference. And that's what I'm trying to get to people. Start living, stop surviving. And, you know, and it's hard to get through to those people. And when you see somebody doing something, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I get aggravated when someone's saying crazy things and doing bad stuff. But I pray for those people, you know. I hope that, hey, if I see a kid getting in trouble, I'm not just going to, I just don't want to condemn him and like, okay, he's a bad person, he did wrong. Let's lock him up and throw him under the jail. No, I'm not like that. I want to reach out to that kid. I'm the type of person that wants to say, hey, follow me. Let's go do this and let me show you something, you know. That's not a good thing. You know, you're hurting people, and that's not good. So let's go fishing, let's go camping, let's go play ball, let's go do something, and try to change that person's life if you see they're doing bad or wrong or something. And well, I tell you another reason why I don't watch so much TV is because I feel like I'm being manipulated by people that are in Hollywood. Missy, y'all stop that. And I feel like I'm being manipulated, you know, and they're trying to convince me to think a certain way or to do something that I don't need TV to tell me, you know, or to be imaginative, to like want to live in that fantasy world of whatever it is. So, Missy, stop. I'm sorry, guys. My dogs are just wanting to cut up again, as always, every day, all day. But I just wanted to bring that up to you guys about the spiritual awakenings. And if you have to rewind the video today and sort of like go back over it and listen to what some of the things I said, if you have questions, you know, always feel free. I'm not, because there is, it's not always easy, like I said. We're going to go through, and people ask, well, why are you, you know, how are you going on video and, you know, you're doing this. Missy, stop. And, you know, I couldn't do that, or why you got to be so open, or why you got, because I've let all of my guard down. I've let everything down. I put myself, I have nothing to hide, you know. Why would I care about, you know, why would I care about what certain people think? They're going to say what they think, anyway. Missy, stop. And so what difference does it make to me? If I got 99 people that talk bad about me and I help one person, then I'm good. I'm really good. Because that one person's the one I'm trying to help. And if 99 of you miss it and you want to talk bad about me, that's your journey, not mine. So in my journey, and that's where I'm trying to get at, is just be open-hearted, try to, you know, try to be caring. You don't think of yourself as much when you're going through this, because you know that this world and this life and this spiritual side that we have, it's bigger than what we are individually. I mean, look at how many people has come into this world and gone. And what makes you think that you're going to be any different? You're only here for just a little bit. So what place do you hold to change the world around you for the children that's coming in and their children, and for how do we get to the point where we make this world a better place? We don't do it by what has been happening. Some people's got to stand up and start changing and understanding their spiritual side. That's why you're here. It's built into your DNA. It's programmed that way. And some of you just turn that off. You do have that ability to do so. That is your choice. But I just think you're missing out on so many blessings. And then going back to the Holy Spirit, it's always there. It's always there for you to communicate. It's always telling you who you are and why you're here and what you should be doing. And it gives you purpose, gives you communication. It's somebody, I'll say somebody, it is what is there that never leaves your side. Only you can leave it. It won't leave you. Never. Never. Not as long, if you're the one that's got to walk away from it, it never walks away from you. And that's what I found out about it. If you're looking for that, because I've heard a lot of people say in their relationships and things like that, well, you know, you got cheated on me, or they was disloyal, or they did this, or they did that. Well, let me tell you something. The Holy Spirit does not cheat on you. It doesn't. It's not unloyal to you. It's always there. It's where you can actually find the truth, and the truth never changes. And that's the blessing of it all. So, like I said, I'm going to keep this kind of a short video tonight. We'll probably have a second version of it somewhere coming up along the way. And since there's not too many questions or something going on right now, I hope other people will tune in, and as we repost this on Facebook and on our Instagram. And we usually handle a lot of comments after the fact, and but these are video series that I'm making on different aspects of life and different things that we go through. I hope you've enjoyed this section, and you guys have a great night.